Peace to the God. Peace to the gods. Shit. Pissed off. I can't do this shit. I gotta do a different show, man. I can't do the show I wanted to do. Ah, boy. I guess I should probably take some questions in, huh? But before I do that, there is some things I want to talk about. Before I do that, because I wanted to do this bond, but I can't. The software is messing up, so I can't do that. Shit. So I'm gonna change the name of this show to Q&A. All right, y'all. We got 94 people in here. How many likes? We got 39 likes. Let's get the likes up. Everybody is good. So I've been waiting 30 minutes. I apologize. I apologize for the wait. I apologize for the wait. But I'm here. I'm real here. Good evening, brother. Audio sounding good. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Do you what they call a camel with three humps? I don't know what it is that you're trying to say. Do you what they call a camel with three humps? I think you need to go check your grammar on that, and try to convey what it is that you're trying to say in a coherent sentence. So I can't answer something that's not quite clear. It's kind of hard. Let's see. Have you studied Mark Passio's work? No, I did not study Mark Passio's work. Mark Passio did not create the Kabbalion. I've been reading the Kabbalion over 25 years, okay? Y'all keep bringing this dude up because he made some slides and all that shit right there. He made some pretty decent slides, for the 7 principles, but nah, man, this is ancient. The Kabbalion been around forever. It's been around for a long time. Y'all just not. In our organization, we call it the wisdom of Tahuti. It's called the wisdom of Tahuti in our organization. This is when me studying it back in the 90s. In the 90s. Matter of fact, I got the book in our folder on the website. You go check it out, the actual book, The Wisdom of Tahuti. So y'all can understand there's other people been teaching this stuff. It's like y'all think that Mark Passio is the only person that was talking about it. Like, nah, man. No. Y'all be killing me with that. Let's see, this stuff ain't for the week for sure. That's true. Damn, family here for a week. Shaking my head, kind of popping in and out tonight, y'all. Sorry. Okay. How are you still able to present on the topics if you're in the private? Are you able to present on these topics if you're in the private? Well, I can do it because obviously you don't understand the definition of private. Tell me what you think the definition of private is. Let me see what you think it is. Once again, this is when they don't study public and private law. Because really what we're talking about is public law and private law. Y'all use that, you private, that's a slang. That's a slang that y'all are using. Either you're operating under public law or you're operating under private law. That's it at the end of the day, because all law is either public or private. So that's what we're saying. You're subject to some kind of law. The only law is, well, how are you conducting yourself? That's going to be a determining factor of which side that you are takes jurisdiction or cognizance over anything that you engage in. So that's why you have to know the difference between public and private. And that's why you're asking that question, because you don't know the difference between public and private, because you think just because I'm on the air talking that I can have my life privatized. You could do that by not having nothing in your nothing in your name. Everything is in your business name. It's like, there's many ways of doing it. As you grow in your understanding, it'll become, because I think this is where people get lost. This is commerce. This is all business. Everything that we're talking about is business. Negotiable instruments is how business is conducted in the world today. How money is created is through an interest in things. If you don't want to play the game, you can get off the board. It's called taking yourself off of the, off the network, So you can go dark and, not engage in anything. But I don't see a need to do that because, what is it, Mandelhouse, he made the statement, the advisor to Woodrow Wilson, when he stated that the people who understand the system are going to love it and the people who don't understand it are going to hate it. And it's the people who hate the system are the people who don't understand it. The system is just a maneuvering within inside it that you would term good or evil. It's the people inside, but the system itself is not good or evil. It just is. It's just a state of being that people can use to take to their advantage over the ignorant. If you allow somebody to educate themselves about something better than you, then they can dominate you with it. So you got to bring yourself up to their level. And so when you're talking about this information, we're talking about private, we're really talking about operating under private law, which private law is contract law, tort law, those things right there. Tort law, contract law, property law, family law, all those fall under, the private side of law. All interaction between human beings is contractual in nature. That's why contract law is on the private side, and that's why we put a contract clause in the Constitution to tell them that they can make no law that will infringe on the obligation of contracts, because contracts is a private matter, and contracts is fundamentally what all private citizens engage in, is contracts. All right, so when you're saying you're private, you're saying that you're operating in a certain capacity in commerce, because everybody who just leaves the board is automatically private. Everybody who just leaves the board, because that's the republic. Saying the private is like saying being back in the republic. Those are really synonymous terms, because under a Republican form of government, the individual rights are respected. And so in the private, you have a right to be left alone. That's the definition of private, is the right to be left alone. So you have a right to be left alone from the government because you're not seeking any benefits or privileges from them other than what their duty to protect our borders, protect our property, and protect our liberty. That's it. All these government services that they're offering, you're not supposed to be accepted. You can accept them, but just understand that there's a corresponding obligation that's placed on your head when you do, because there's no such thing as something for nothing. So these are the things you have to understand when we start saying public and private. I'm saying it under a business sense. And also when you understand that, you begin to understand taxes a little bit more. Everything just leads into something else. You just can't learn just one thing. You need to know commercial law. You need to know trust law. You need to know tax law. You need to know various things, contract law. You don't have to be a master at it, but you got to be nicely familiar with all four of those topics to really understand what's going on. It requires some reading and it requires some time, but a lot of people, they just come in and they start talking about discharging debt or, I pay attention to what's going on in our Facebook forum, and I hate the topics, but I can't do anything about it because it's a free exchange of information. But it come up, somebody DM me, I got the answer for this, or they in there trying to just get customers and shit. When it's a chat room for the exchange of information, but you in there telling anybody, I DM me, I got you on this right here or that right there. When I see people like that, I put them out. I put them out the group. Because, you're taking away from the value of the group. The group is there for the exchange of information, not for you to get some sort of pecuniary interest in what I put together. You coming in and trying to get customers and shit. You're like, nah, it's not going down like that. That's not going down. But I hope I made you understand, private a little bit better. How can I work with you, bro? We'll see. How are you still? Let's see. It says, man, I've been researching for the past 3 years and I'm constantly feeling overwhelmed, simultaneously coming across info that is later contradicted. Well, what do you mean that's been contradicted? What do you mean? Oh, so what information has been contradicted? If you had to start from scratch, where would you begin? Books, processes, people you take advice from? Well, all right, that's a very good question. I'm going to pause on that question right there because that's an excellent question. So I'm going to tell you where I would start. I'm going to show you. All right, so what is this right here? All right, so right here is a video that I have on this channel that I put together as how I started. Where did I get my information from? And I give you a list of every book that I read from beginning to end. When I started, when I was in jail, the first 2 documents I got, how I read them, the next couple of documents I got, everything that I put on this list. This is the foundational list that I had all the information that I had. And fortunately, there was a lot of United States Code, the U.S. Supreme Court Attorneys Digest, I think that's what it's called. That was a real good book, man. That was a real fucking good book. It was I'd never seen that book before, but it had some good shit. There's some good shit in the law library, y'all. Other than just United States Code annotated, those different type of books. But it is good to have access to those books if you're not familiar with them, because once you familiarize yourself with it, you can begin to get a sense at how case law operates, where people make mistakes, because they're going to highlight 99% of the people are failing in shit. So, 99 different ways of a way not to do something. That's when you want to kind of look at, that's what the case law is really all about, showing you what not to do. Don't do this right here, But it was a whole bunch of good book documents I read. Court Survival Guide, Nature of the Remedy, 1099 OID, American Jurisprudence, Black's Law Dictionary. I had an 8th edition. That's why I'm always referencing the 8th edition. United States Code Annotated, U.S. Supreme Court Digest, Lawyers Edition. That's it. That's the name of it. U.S. Supreme Court Digest, Lawyers Edition. That shit right there, that's a good fucking book. United States Code Services, an Official Code of Georgia Annotated. And these are the documents I started with, and I was reading a lot of this stuff, some of it I read over and over and over and over and over again. There is another one, too. It was abatement at common law on the traffic citations. So I actually had a chance to really study a lot of information on the right to travel. So that's why I can look at somebody and tell if they really understand right to travel, and that it's commercial. It is commercial in nature, most definitely. It's commercial in nature. They made it commercial because that's what they have the authority to regulate. We gave them that power under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the Constitution, the Commerce Clause. So that's why they want to convert everything into something commercial in nature, because it falls under their territorial jurisdiction. They got like godlike powers over that activity. And that's why it seems like they the kings and we the slaves, because we're in their jurisdiction, and in their jurisdiction, they are God. And so this is why I came out and I started talking about public and private, so people can start to build up in their mind on what side you are God. You got the godlike powers over them on the private side, but they can't come in your house and you can't come in theirs. When you look at a lot of the restrictions in the Constitution for the United States of America, they are there to prevent them from coming into the private. They got to get a warrant for your arrest. It has to be an affidavit. A judge has to sign off on it. It has to state that you violated a public law. So as long as you don't violate, if you stay out of the public, don't participate in it, but see, everything in the public is an artificial person. You should be operating in the public with some sort of corporate created entity. That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed for the interaction on the fictional. It's operating. The public is operating on a fiction of law. It's operating on a fiction of law. Okay, everything is a fiction of law as it relates to the public. The actors in it are fictions of law. We just lose our mind and think that all caps name on the utility bill and on the birth certificate and your social security card, that's really you. All right, but that's a persona. The word person comes from the word persona, like when you wear a mask on somebody's face. It's a persona that you have. That's why it's called a person. All right, so the person, which is your all caps name, is a legal entity, and then it's in the nature of like a corporation soul, because the corporation soul is the worst kind of corporation to get. All right, it has all the liability. You have to wonder, why would you even incorporate it as a corporation soul? It don't even make no sense to even do that shit. All right, so that's what an individual is. It's like a corporation soul. It's like, why would you even do that? None of the tax breaks are in your favor or nothing like that. You complaining about paying taxes. Well, get the fuck out. All taxes are coercive. It's trying to get you the fuck out of being an employee and participate in commerce. You know, that's what taxes are. It's like, you get your ass out of here and go over there and do some commerce, and I'll leave you the fuck alone. You know, that's kind of like what it is, you know, if you want to play in the system. So the first mental break that you got to get through is the fact that everybody is looked at as some sort of business. That's why you have a marriage license. You know, your marriage is looked at as a business. You know, everything is a business with these people. So you got to approach this whole game with a business mind frame. You got to approach the whole game with a business mind frame. It don't have nothing to do with your nationality or, you know, a lot of the different things people are talking about. You know, it's a reason the instructions to the game are called the Uniform Commercial Code. It's a code that was adopted by all 50 states because they needed some uniform way of interacting with each other in business because gold and silver had been eliminated. So they had to have a standard set of rules to operate from. And that's why they made the Uniform Commercial Code. And the Uniform Commercial Code is just a codification of the law merchant. Law merchant was a set of body of rules that, you know, the maritime laws that people use to operate in commerce under maritime admiralty. Okay, but when they got rid of money, gold and silver, we had to adopt something. And they adopted negotiable instruments law that was based off of pledging. And that way they can steal your property too. That was what's real sinister about their system, is the ability to put a lien against some property and then give you some money that's a worthless piece of paper and expect labor to be performed from you. And if you don't perform it, they can come and get your property, like repossession, you know, with, you know, houses and shit like that. That's how they got all the property in the country. Have you ever stopped to think that how did the banks get all the houses when this country started off? All the houses in the country, everybody owned their own house. When no bank didn't have in possession of no house. But, you know, we came over, everybody built their own houses, everybody had their own land. How in the fuck, what happened that the banks are able to get all the houses in the nation and put mortgages against them? How were they able to get you to pay property taxes on some land that belongs to you? You know, you got to think about these things. You know, these people, and these are public servants doing this, all because they owe an obligation to some foreigners that they borrowed money from, that they were irresponsible in doing, and they manifestly do it more and more and more. You know, they do it on national TV right in front of our face, be irresponsible with the breadstuffs of the nation, just totally irresponsible. And they have the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to talk about people with bad credit. There's a meme going on Instagram right now. It's funny as hell. Talking about your congressmen, how many of them got bad credit, how many of them currently got lawsuits, how many of them, you know, there's in all type of problems and issues, just like everyday people, you know. But anyway, let me put the thing back up real quick. That right there, in answer to your question, that's how I started. You know, go back and watch that video, how I got started, where did I get my information from? Because I did a video on all that. That's explaining how I started. The starting point into this point right here. don't come over here asking about Jonah. Nobody, they come over and start asking. I mean, they can ask whatever they want to ask. I don't care. I mean, they talking about shit happening. Like, you still talking about that? That was like, damn, 7 years ago. You know, they still. I mean, I think it's something wrong with you. You keep talking about it. It's like, damn, you know, it's like that shit happened like 7, 8 years ago. Y'all still talking about that? It's like, ain't nobody thinking about that shit. They say UCC was created by Ali and ULC. Yeah, the American Law Institute. That's correct. But why New York never adopts the 1990 or 2002 revisions? I don't know. You need to talk to your people in New York. They don't have to. They probably wouldn't have to if they don't substantially in any kind of way alter the way that business is done with each other. They don't have to. It may be a couple of things in there, the updates that they didn't like. I don't know. You know, I'm just speculating. But the UCC, it wasn't forced on anybody. That's why they say they adopted it. So, you know, they say they discretion. Do I have to authenticate the birth certificate to be able to process my security/contracts through the proper processing agents, aka banks? Well, I don't do anything through the banks, Kalika. Kalika means creator. You know, so you're saying Kalika Davis. You're calling yourself the creator. I like that. One of my homeboys, when we was in the organization, that was the name Kalika. Was it Kalika? You might have been, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Kalika and Sandman. Kalika and Sandman. I think I said that pretty. I said that right. But do I have to authenticate the birth certificate? All right, let me answer that question. I have a video. If you're coming over here, you're asking me about birth certificate authentication. All right. And because you asked me this question, and because I got an audience of people watching, I'm going to give a thorough explanation on that particular question because, quite frankly, I am tired of getting it. All right, this video right here is on my page as well. It is called Before You Ask Me About Birth Certificate Authentication, I'm going to request that you watch this video, okay? Because I've already answered this question 1,000 times. I've taken the time to even make a video and writing actually a motherfucking essay on this. And the essay is what I'm conducting the video from. I wrote an essay on this and let you read the essay. And the essay is what is guiding the video to talk about this birth certificate authentication. Okay, so I want y'all to sit back and listen real closely. I'm going to try to make this quick and brief, but clearly as I possibly can. Okay, it's not birth certificate authentication came from a misinterpretation of a rule of practice in Minnesota. All right, it's called Minnesota Rules of Practice 220. And let me see if I can put it on here and just show you what I'm talking about. All right, so right here, you can see these are general rules of practice. So the first thing that a lot of people didn't seem to understand is we're talking about a rule of practice, not a rule of court. All right, these are rules of practice. And there's a distinct difference. There's a definition for rule of practice in the dictionary and definition for rule of court. They are two totally separate things. And I go over the definitions in the video when you watch the video. So the first thing we have to understand what a rule of practice is. A rule of practice are the rules that govern how attorneys introduce evidence. Okay? That's what it is for Minnesota, not for the entire nation, just for Minnesota. All right, so when you read this, and I want to go to I want to pull up the entire Minnesota. Here are the general rules of practice. So here are all the general rules of practice in Minnesota. All right, so you see right here, rules, scope, rules, modifications. You get down here to 220, it's talking about, where is it? Rule 2, birth certificates. And you see death certificates too, and this is birth certificates. So somebody found this and they read it. They said the Register of Titles is authorized to receive for registration of memorials upon any outstanding certificate of title, an official birth certificate pertaining to a registered owner's name in said certificate of title, showing the date of birth of said registered owner, providing there is attached to said birth certificate an affidavit of an affiant who states that he or she is familiar with the facts recited, stating that the party named in said birth certificate is the same party as the one of the owners named in said certificate of title, and that hereinafter the Register of Titles shall treat said registered owner as having attained the age of majority at the date 18 years after the date of birth shown by said certificate. Now, the individuals who can't read, well, I'm not going to say can't read, they just don't have good reading comprehension because they never studied grammar in high school. They failed it. They may be very intelligent. They walking around, but they don't think they need to know the parts of speech or anything like that. All right. So immediately, instead of first of all looking up the definition of general rules of practice, they didn't do any of that. They just ran with this and said, we need to authenticate our birth certificate so we'll be the certified title owner of our state. This is where all this birth certificate authentication came from. So where is 220 at? 220 is at what? Here's 220 right here. This is part C, this is part B, and this is part A, and it all comes under registration of land titles. So this has something to do with the introduction of evidence as something that relates to land titles. And I'll tell you what it is. It deals with the Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. The Uniform Transfers to Minors Act is that when someone is under the age of 18 and they cannot be in a contract, all right, so they have to have a custodian hold property for them. A custodian, okay, is going to hold property. When they reach 18 or the age of majority, okay, they have to bring 2 witnesses into court. One is the birth certificate. However, when you look under the rules of evidence in Minnesota, you'll find out that from vital statistics, for a birth certificate to be introduced into evidence, it must be authenticated. It's not just because it came from the vital statistics. They're not going to accept that as evidence in court, at least in Minnesota, unless it's authenticated. The next thing is they need an affidavit from the custodian who can attest to the fact that the child who is coming of age is indeed the child, and that is the same person that's on the birth certificate. This is what this is talking about. It don't have anything to do with what y'all are talking about. And y'all keep asking me this question and make me have to go into this, I go into it in much broader detail than what I'm talking right now because I did an investigation into it. Led me all the way to the Social Security Administration. All right. And so I had to figure out, well, what, I kind of already knew what it was talking about. They got death certificates in here. Nobody talks about that, authenticating the death certificate, whatever it's in there. But this is under registration of land titles. We're talking about conveyance of property, all right, to a minor. And then y'all keep running away with that minor thing, meaning it's an incompetent. It is an incompetent, but you're considered incompetent if you're under the age of 18 or 21. This is why they say they come up with these words, sovereign citizen. This is an example of why they will come up with these words, sovereign citizen. I understand why they say some of the shit that they say, because people take shit and run with it without doing a thorough investigation of it. You won't take the time to read the shit yourself. Y'all keep coming in here. They've been saying birth certificate authentication so long, y'all just done left Minnesota Rule 220 out of it no more. Nobody even bring up Minnesota Rule 220 no more. It's just 1,000 people talking about birth certificate authentication. Nobody's wondering where it came from. It just seems kind of, correct. Hey, look, it's a title. It does not fit the description of a certificate of title at all. It doesn't have anywhere on there for conveyances and liens. The UCC tells you right here, the UCC, which is the game we playing. Let me see if they got it in here. Perfection of security interests. Is this it right here? I'm looking for the definition. They got, now hold on, let me pull it up. They got the definition of certificate of title, UCC definition. Let me see if this is right here. All right, so here it is right here. Here's one of them. I'm going to show y'all both of them. Okay, this is on Cornell Law. It says certificate of title. A certificate of title is an official document issued by the state, usually a registrar or other public officer, that notes the owners of personal or real property. It serves the purpose of proving the right of ownership, and it typically applies to real estate, but it also can apply to businesses, boats, vehicles, among other things. A certificate of title is usually transferred from seller to buyer in real estate and vehicle transactions. However, the certificate itself does not serve as a guarantee of free and clear title on the property, and a title search must be conducted before settling large transactions. All right, so you got that definition, and let me read the other definition before I go into it. Then you come under the UCC. I think it might be in here. Let's see if it's in here. Certificate of title. All right, this is under the UCC. Certificate of title means a certificate of title with respect to which a statute provides for the security interest in question to be indicated on the certificate as a condition or result of the security interest obtaining priority over the rights of a lien creditor with respect to the collateral. The term includes another record maintained as an alternative to a certificate of title by the governmental unit that issues certificate of title if a statute permits the security interest in question to be indicated on the record as a condition or result of the security interest obtaining priority over the rights of a lien creditor with respect to the collateral. All right, all that's saying is there has to be something on it that indicates a security interest in property, which is what happens when you have like a car title. A car title is a certificate of title. It has something on there for the conveyance of the property. All right, this is what I mean. I said it don't fit the definition of a certificate of title, but I'm gonna say what the higher ups say. Okay, they say it is a trust certificate. It's a trust certificate. It indicates your beneficial interest in something. That's why they call you a beneficiary. All right, because you get a beneficial interest in it. When you understand trust law and you understand what a trust certificate holder is, you'd understand that that certificate holder represents a prorated interest in a trust for a distribution from that trust. All right, which the United States is holding all this property in trust. They're in receivership right now. All the property in the United States belong to the American people, not to the U.S. government. So they trustees, even by operation of law, they trustees. They trustees of all our property, our gold, everything else that they got. So as trustees, we're the beneficiaries of that. There's an interest that is owed back to us. That interest is represented in a birth certificate. All right. That birth certificate, it has a value now because it has an obligation that's owed to it. So now when you see them make the birth certificate bond, that bond represents the value that is derived from that birth certificate that represents human labor. All right, they pledging human labor for the repayment of a debt. That's the only thing they got left is to pledge human labor. That's why they're so concerned with people paying their taxes. That's why the only thing they're concerned about is taxes. That's it. Everything they're doing is to get everybody to pay taxes on this debt, on this fictitious debt. But as a private citizen, not as how they had to get us to be responsible for the debt is in 1933 under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, under the New Deal program. I don't know why we would call it a New Deal. What was the old deal? But it's a New Deal program where you agreed, he made a deal with you. Okay, we will take care of you, give you welfare in exchange, all right, for you being a laborer for us and a guarantor for the national debt. That's why everybody who works a job has to have a social security number and give it to your employer so he can take taxes out of your check because you're a guarantor for the national debt. when you have that social security number and you're using that social security number. So now that we understand that, now we can begin to understand, well, look, I need to play this game, but I need to play it without using a social security number. I can still live life within the matrix if I want to, but I can do so under the pretense that, hey, that's not me. I don't have any liability in this. Liability is the name of the game. Liability is the name of the game. In the Bible, it warns you that the debtor is enslaved to the creditor. Well, don't put it under your name. Put it under your business name. Put it under let the business be the obligor. Let the business be that, not you. Put the liability on another fictitious entity. That's what they do. Everybody on their side of the fence is operating through a fictitious entity. Immune from a liability. Immune from it. Immune from it. That's what everybody wants. They want to be able to play the game and not have no liability for nothing that happens inside of the game. So, in answer to your question, first check out Minnesota Rules of Practice 220. Then look at the definitions of certificate of title and look and see, does it fit the description of the birth certificate? Next, where they got it from is Minnesota Rules of Practice 220. Go and understand what that's for. Then go study the transfer to the Uniform Transfers to Minor Act. I understand how real estate is conveyed because we're talking about land records. We're talking about real estate. So we're talking about the conveyance of real estate to a minor who has just reached the age of majority. And you need you always need two witnesses. They want the custodian to sign an affidavit attesting that, yeah, this is the person, and then they want their birth certificate, and they want it authenticated. That's where birth certificate authentication came from. Now, is there anything wrong with authenticating the birth certificate? Matter of fact, I think it is a good practice to get the birth certificate authenticated. I do. Not for the reasons that y'all think, because you sitting here talking about going in banks and doing all this kind of crazy shit that's going to get your ass locked up. That's what it sounds like is about to happen to you if you finna get locked the fuck up. That's what it's looking like. I'm pleased to report that I've used a bond model after Yusef's example to purchase a new air conditioner and heating system for my home. I sent a registered mail and they got it and installed. Okay, well, no, don't do that, man. Don't put that out there like that. Don't put that out there like that and say you use something I used to purchase. I don't teach anybody to purchase anything with any of these. See that right there? See that right there? You got to catch these people in the chat, because anybody who's been following me for any appreciable length of time knows that I'm heavily against utilizing any of these processes for purchases. Everybody knows that. Why would you put yourself out like that? And you know that. I ain't trying to teach people what you're trying to do, trying to get everybody to come over and so they can just try to buy something. You're trying to inundate me with a lot of people who, I can get something for free. That ain't happening over here. They're going to be wasting their time coming over here for that. There's plenty of people propagating it on the internet. Y'all won't have no shortage of individuals willing to try to help you utilize a negotiable instrument to purchase a car, a house, a heating and air conditioning unit, or nothing like that. Trust me. It says, I just learned that we've been using the word acceptance in the wrong context. Only the drawee, where you got a checking account, can accept your instrument and not a utility company, for instance. Well, yeah, that's why we go through the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department is a financial institution, and the banks are just what are called intermediaries. They like middlemen. You know. Our financial institution for the nation is the Treasury Department, not the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is a private bank that it's like the Federal Reserve is like a tarantula holding its prey, you know, like, or not, maybe a black widow, something with a web. It's kind of, you know, like a black widow in a web that has caught a grasshopper and slowly killing it. That's what the Federal Reserve is like over the United States. It's like I look at it like it's like a damn, and all the Federal Reserve knows ain't nothing but venom. is pumping venom, through the country because they're taking all the property. They're taking all the land. That's why they're moving on to other countries and allowing the United States to kind of like become dilapidated, is because, they done sucked it dry. And they want to move on to other areas. They want to try to get Africa now, or saying everybody else is trying to, mount up against them. Like, oh, fuck no, we're going to get our own monetary system and shit like that. They don't want to fuck with it, And when you go and study, go watch the video, Hitler, the Greatest Story Never Told. And in that video, and there's some others too, they discuss why Hitler did what he did. And it was because of the banking institution, and who were controlled by, of course, Jews. They were in control of it. They were in control of not only the banks, the court system, media, all of media, banking. They were foreclosing on homes at an extensive rate, high interest rates, all of that right there. They were doing all of that. And that right there, when you begin to understand economics and don't allow a liberal professor to explain it to you, they literally are bleeding the country dry, taking all the assets of the country. And there's nothing else to give. So now they pledge the babies. And that's why the birth certificate is so important in that aspect and has value, because when a baby is born, that's another guarantor for the national debt, because that person's going to go out and perform labor and pay taxes. And so they can keep borrowing money based off of that. But see, the Federal Reserve looking at them like, look, y'all done borrowed money probably up to the 100th generation. Ain't no way y'all ever going to pay this shit back. We can't just keep lending y'all money and y'all ain't got nothing but babies. And they trying to kill all the babies. Where they trying to kill the creditors off and everything. How did Daryl Brooks get the scripts you had suggested online? Did you send them yourself or did someone else? No, Daryl Brooks didn't say any scripts from me. Why are you saying that? He's got some old people. He didn't say that. He didn't say anything I told him to say. There are plenty of scripts floating around all over the place, man. It's 1,000 different scripts out there. And you can see some of them are very similar sounding, and then some of them are totally addressing it from a different vantage point. But there's plenty of them out there. But he didn't use what I said. He didn't say, I'm the holder in due course. Here's the third-party intervener making a special appearance as an authorized representative for the defendant. I accept for value and return for value all the charging instruments in this matter and make my exemption as principal available for discharge of all obligations and charges connected with this case. I do not dispute any of the facts contained in the charging instrument. Please use my exemption for offset and adjustment of the public charges against the defendant and release the order of the court to me immediately. The reason why the most important part in there is when you say you're not disputing any facts, all right? Because when you're not disputing any facts, they can't take you to trial, because trial is for fact finding. So the first thing you want to do is kill off that trial and leave them stuck, because now they're going to get stuck. That's when they're going to start trying to railroad you into going into a trial. These are the things that you got to be aware of what's happening. Because if you're not disputing any facts, how you going to trial? The next thing is they're going to try to say, well, are you pleading guilty to the statutes? No, I'm not pleading guilty to the statutes. The statutes is a separate issue. Now we need to get into a discussion about what jurisdiction you're operating under. I'm not going to argue about any of those facts over there. That's fine. Okay, if you want to say I did X, Y, and Z, that's cool. I don't have no argument with that. What I want to is, what are you adjudicating this matter in? What type of jurisdiction is it in? Is it common law? Is it equity? Is it maritime admiralty? Okay, we only have those jurisdictions because that is what is carved out by the Constitution for the United States of America. Okay, so we know it's not common law. Y'all tell us that every fucking day. You're not shy about telling us, no, this is not common law. It's not common law. It's not equity, because equity doesn't have a criminal aspect to it. The only one that has a criminal aspect to it, okay, but is civil in nature, is admiralty maritime. So now we need to do can a criminal action be civil? It's called a penal action. A penal act. These are penal code. Like I'm in Texas, we have the penal code here. Penal code violations. All right. So when you start to look at all the evidence, all right, then you begin to understand that it is commercial in nature. You also, once you understand how government funds itself, that taxes is not enough to fund government. They have to find other creative ways of funding government. And that's through traffic tickets, charges. A charge is a lien. A charge is a lien, man. Let me see if I can show y'all this, man. You know, you got to look at, you know, it's called a charge on property. What they've done is they've taken everything in the criminal law and the verbiage that you use there and the corporate, and they've merged them where you can't tell the difference between the two. It's like when you say, if I say, can you look out for me? Look out. I can make look out mean two totally different things. Or if I say pen, am I talking about an ink pen? Am I talking about a stick pen? Or am I talking about a pig pen? What kind of pen am I talking about? But I can just say the word pen, and then you're going to assume you know what I'm talking about until you ask me, well, what do you mean by pen, and where do you derive your definition from? Because pen can be many different things. And also the inflections in the voice can change the meaning of words. So English is more difficult to learn than Chinese because of things like that. It confuses the hell out of a lot of foreigners. Right? It confuses the hell out of them. But what they've done with the law is they've done that same practice. They've given words in a commercial matter and a criminal matter the exact same words. So you say I'm giving you charges. Okay, well, I'm putting a charge on property. A charge on property is a lien. A lien is evidence of a debt. Evidence of a debt has value. That means there's some sort of performance or some sort of obligation owed. And usually it's going to come in the form of labor, all right? Labor. Okay, so now I got that lien that I can convert into a bond, and I can discount it, and I can put it in a municipal fund or something like that. Okay, it is a modern day way of selling people, like modern day slavery. It literally is slavery, which is, I can understand why they wouldn't want people to know about it. Once you understand how it works, then you don't get mad about that, though. You don't get mad about that. You don't get mad about that. They just doing business. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. This is all the things. These are all these denial of, I forgot the word, but these are all these things they use to shield themselves from liability. Okay, so that's cool. All right, you can use the same thing. Okay, so now since I understand the game now, what I will do is I will get me an artificial entity, okay, like a LLC or something like that, and I will use that as a transmitting utility or as a conduit to operate in the public and shift the liability from me that is represented by the social security number to an EIN number, all right, that is a totally separate entity from me. That's the game, man. That's what all the wealthy people are doing. All the wealthy people, man, they don't own anything. They don't put shit in their name. Andrew Tate just came out with a video. He just said that. He said, I'm wealthy. I literally don't own anything. Nothing is in his name. Nothing is in his name. These people don't put shit in their name. It's not intelligent. It's not intelligent to put it in your name. When you put something in your name, you're creating a tax liability. Listen, because when you have to pay for something in your name, that's considered personal income. So this is why you can't put shit in your name. Everything got to be, the house got to be in the business. The damn utilities got to be in a business. The car got to be in a business name. The credit card you're using to put the gas in the car got to be in a business name. You got to conduct everything through business. Once you get it like that, then you out of the system. You out of it. But you still walking around like everybody else. And they don't seem like nothing changed. And they mad, and they come on your pod, and they say, how are you talking about the private and you right here in the public? Do you get it now? Let's see. They truly believe they have some sort of spiritual case before the court of heaven. This system will not abide the trumpet bar servant to the lender. Can you explain how to know when to use instruments when it pertains to Article 3 and Article 9? Just learn Article 9 is more broad, yet Article 9 is about uh, security interests and property. That's where, the filing of the UCC 1 comes from. Article 3 is connected to Article 9. It's securitization. Article 9, what is Article 9? What, securitization? Slipping my mind right now. Article 9, securitization. Yeah, secure transactions. And so Article 9, when you start talking about a security interest in property, we're talking about liens. We're talking about creating money. This is the creation of money. What y'all looking at, when you start talking about securitization, you're talking about the creation of money. Just understand that. That's how we are in a debt-based system. For money to exist, there has to be debt. That's why all the rich people use debt. They use debt and have assets. That's it. They don't own anything in their name. They use debt and have assets. Debt is money. Debt is money. But you got to know how to service debt too. If you're going to be in business, you got to know how to service debt. That's why you have to know how to do business. You have to have a system in place. You have to know how, all of these things, it's setting up. You got to be more than competent enough to handle your own commercial affairs, as we used to say. You got to become a businessman or a businesswoman. And I know that might be distasteful for some people, but this comes from years of studying this subject of what I'm telling you right now. And I'm not saying this because, I have some predisposition to be in business or something like that. That's not it at all. I would like to be just like y'all too. Some of y'all just sit down and I have to do shit and everything is handed to me, and I can just go out and just do what I want to do every day, which they are trying to get that world. They're trying to bring that world into existence, but it's going to include a limited number of people. And right now they are separating people. And, they think about this. What if they come out and say, everybody got a tattoo, you ain't coming in? Why are you giving them ways to separate yourself, to make a distinction, and then also to make a distinction that puts you on the side of a heathen? Why would you do that? The people, you need to look at who are the controllers of the world and what they believe in, because they're the controllers of the world. Why wouldn't you be interested in what they believe? Because they got power over you. They don't have real power over you, but they have perceived power, a power that the majority of people will buy into. So my audio been clear forever, nigga. Somebody say just now notice it's not clear. My audio's been clear for the longest. That just let me know you ain't been listening to me. Let me say, that's all that just showed me right there. You just came back after a hiatus. Come over here and try to fuck with me and shit. Let's see. What do you do for a 42-1983 case against a county sheriff if family has already hired a lawyer? Nothing, because I'm not going to do a 42-1983 case because that's a statute. That's a public remedy. I'm not doing that. I'm using a private remedy. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm not doing none of that stuff. I'm not doing any of that. That's going to come with a little time too. I know where you at. I remember when I was coming up in this, we used to talk about 42-1982. We used to talk about 18 USC 241 and 242, conspiracy against rights and all that. We used to using all that shit too. You know what I'm saying? It was everybody was kind of in and out of that right there. A lot of people. The reason I'm teaching, I'm not trying to give y'all like remedies and shit. I'm kind of like a historian and an educator. That's why I have a university. I'm trying to educate you. Because I've sat back and watched how just ignorant most of you are. There's no one on here that should be asking me about a negotiable instrument or suing anyone. Ain't nobody on here should be asking me that. You should, if you're asking me anything that has to do with the public, I already know that you are a beginner. Soon as you say it, any statute code comes out of your mouth. If you're not talking about equity, if you're not talking about contracts, if you're not talking about trust, I know that you're a beginner. You're a beginner in all this. If you come in and you're just talking about how can I discharge something, I know you're either desperate or broke or you're looking for something for nothing, or you're looking for something quick. These are the people that contribute to the cornucopia of case law that's on the books, where every judge is saying, look at these crazy motherfuckers. That's why I started this right here. I can look in the chat and see how you have instigators in there who are trying to turn it that way. They're looking for an opportunity to say, look at these crazy motherfuckers. But they ain't intelligent enough to do that. They got to send some other people that are a lot more intelligent than what's in the chat right now. That's kind of an insult that you would send that. Come on, send me your best. Don't send these motherfuckers. It's kind of like how the alpha wolf does. The alpha wolf sends the beta wolves out to see if they get killed. The motherfucker, he's standing in the back in the trees, and them motherfuckers get slaughtered. He's standing back there watching, and he said, okay, I see. He measuring the strength of his enemy, and he's sending his peons to do it. So this everything that we're talking about is we're talking about money. All right, we're talking about money. All right, two forms of money: money of account and money of exchange. And I think this will be a good time because I know it's a lot of new people on here, so I'm gonna have to. I think this will be a good place to read this right here into the record. I'm going to read this into the record. Because, you know, the internet is like a record, too. It's like a record. I'm going to read this into the record. I don't know if that, was I supposed to sign in with this one right here? No, let me see if I can. Shoot. Ooh. That ain't what I wanted right there. Hold on. Use another one. I don't remember what it is. God dang. Let's see. Ah, shit. Hold on. I'm going to go over here right quick. I want to read this document. I should have had this on my day. Oh, you know what? I got it. I forgot. I don't even know why I'm looking at it for it on the internet. I got it right here on my computer. I don't know why I'm tripping. Right here. All right. So right here, I want to read this into the record because I think that everybody should hear this. This is the affidavit of Walker Todd. This was a court case that was in the state of Michigan, okay, where they called an attorney to act as an expert witness. This attorney was a high-level officer for the Federal Reserve. So he's going to give his testimony on money and negotiable instruments because, after all, we don't want to look crazy over here. All right. This can be used as an exhibit in your case. Use it as an exhibit because he's an expert witness. I think Walker Todd said he didn't want people doing that, but hey, you shouldn't put it into public. So right here, now comes the affiant Walker F. Todd, a citizen of the United States and the state of Ohio, over the age of 21 years, and declares as follows under penalty of perjury. Okay, so we're going to look at this Walker Todd and see what he has to say about all this. It says that I'm familiar with the promissory note and disbursement request and authorization dated November 23rd, 1999, together sometimes referred to in other documents filed by defendants, in this case as the alleged agreement between defendants and plaintiff, but called the note in this affidavit. If called as a witness, I would testify as stated herein. I make this affidavit based on my own personal knowledge of the legal, economic, and historical principles stated herein, except that I have relied entirely on documents provided to me, including the note, regarding certain facts at issue in this case, of which I previously had no direct and personal knowledge. I'm making this affidavit based on my experience and expertise as an attorney, economist, researcher, writer, and teacher. I'm competent to make the following statements. Well, okay, so let's look at his professional background. We got to make sure this dude is qualified to talk about this stuff. He said, professional background qualifications. My qualifications as an expert witness in monetary and banking instruments are as follows. For 20 years, I've worked as an attorney and legal officer for the legal departments of the Federal Reserve Banks of New York and Cleveland. Among other things, I was assigned responsibility for questions involving both novel, meaning new, and routine notes, bonds, bankers, acceptances, securities, and other financial instruments in connection with my work for the Reserve Bank's discount windows and parts of the open market trading desk function in New York. In addition, for 9 years, I worked as an economic research officer at the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. I became one of the Federal Reserve System's recognized experts on the legal history of central banking and the pledging of notes, bonds, and other financial instruments at the discount window to enable the Federal Reserve to make advances of credit that became or could become money. Advances of credit that became or could become money. That's what it is, credit. Money. I also have read extensively treatises on the legal and financial history of money and banking and have published several articles covering all the subjects just mentioned. I have served as an expert witness in several trials involving banking practices and monetary instruments. A summary, biographical sketch, and resume, including further details of my work experience, readings, publications, and education, will be tendered to defendants and may be made available to the court and to plaintiff's counsel upon request. So right here, we see that we got somebody qualified to talk about these things. My man, he's qualified, all right? So the first thing we're going to talk about is generally accepted accounting principles, because we got to understand how the accounting is conducted in the banks and in anything in the monetary system, well, basically. So GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, and I think that is at 31, what is it? I'm going to give y'all the code section that it's the United States Code, GAAP, banks, let's see. Yes, 1831N, right here, object right here. So this is right here. It says uniform accounting principles consistent with GAAP. Subject to the requirements of this chapter and any other provision of federal law, the accounting principles applicable to reports or statements required to be filed with federal banking agencies by all insured depository institutions shall be uniform and consistent with generally accepted accounting principles. So right here, the accounting, 12 U.S.C. 1831N, you need to write that down so you can understand what Walker Todd is talking about. All right, so when we get back over here, he says, banks are required to adhere to generally accepted accounting principles. We just read that. GAAP follows an accounting convention that lies at the heart of the double entry bookkeeping system called the matching principle. This principle works as follows. When a bank accepts bullion, coin, currency, checks, drafts, promissory notes, or any other similar instruments, hereinafter instruments, from customers and deposits, or records the instruments as assets, it must record offsetting liabilities that match the assets that it accepted from customers. This is where that 1099A comes in, this abandonment funds, because the matching principle requires that they put these instruments on their books as an asset and a liability simultaneously. I'll give you an example. It's like when you take Federal Reserve notes, which are negotiable instruments, to the bank and they deposit in that bank. They have to put that on their books as assets and liabilities. They loan 10 times of any of the deposits they put in there, but it's a liability because you can come in and withdraw the money. They owe it back to you. So now we need to understand is, well, when we buy a mortgage with a promissory note, they have to record it as an asset and a liability. And how is it that we're not getting what's owed back to us on the accounting ledger, the accounts payable? All they talking to you about is the accounts receivable. But the payable side is owed to you because you're the holder. That's if you're the holder in due course. And they have an attorney sitting at the real estate closing table to make sure you don't do that. All right, so let me read it again. It says, when a bank accepts bullion, coin, currency, checks, drafts, promissory notes, or any other similar instruments, hereinafter instruments, from customers and deposits, records the instruments as assets, it must record offsetting liabilities that match the assets that is accepted from customers. The liabilities represent the amount that the bank owes the customers, funds accepted from the customers. See, the liabilities represent the amounts that the bank owes the customers, funds accepted from customers. and a fractional reserve banking system like the United States banking system, most of the funds advanced to borrowers, assets of the banks, are created by the banks themselves. Now, we can also read this in FASB, FAS. I hope y'all watching all this. FASB 95. FASB 95 stands for the Financial Accounting Standards Board Statement 95. All right, so we can go over here and look at this. Statement 95 is, do I got it? Let's see if they got it over here. Can I download it? I don't know if this look like this might be it. I don't know if this is this look like an old edition right here. Let me see if it's on here. Nah, this ain't the one right here. It look like, I don't know what that is. It's a FASB, Statement of Cash Flows. They got the new one? Let's see if they got it. Damn, man, I gotta go through all this shit right here. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. I think I got that on my computer too. Let me see if I got that on my computer. Yep, I got it on my computer. Sure do. Where is it? 95. Delivery of it set off. Set of an installation. Federal Trade. Wait a minute, FASB. Damn, hold on. Let me see if that's. I want to show y'all this fast because this right here is going to go right in line with what I'm trying to show you. If I can find it. I thought I had it on here, y'all. I don't think I have it on here. So I don't know. I might have to just go on without that right now. Let me see if I can find a PDF of it. It's a summary statement, 95. Got it. Shit. Found it. All right, this is it right here. All right, so this is what I want to show you. All right, this is a statement of financial accounting standards. All right. They have the standards for the bank they have to follow. So right here, the banks, you're going to see that they're going to ask the banks about their statement of cash flows. And I want you to see what the bank says when they ask them for this information. Did I come down too far? I think I might have came down too far. Hold on. All right, right here. It's on page 21, FASB 95. So this is right, financial institutions. Okay, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says financial institutions, particularly commercial banks, have long contended that their statements of changes in financial position are not meaningful. In response to the exposure draft, most asserted, and then the exposure draft, if I'm to understand it, this is something that is dealing with your automobile, like the Federal Trade Commission puts out. You have a claims and defense notice that's attached to all automobile contracts. That claims and defense notice is not for you. That is for the holder of that contract, because that contract is a security, okay? And it's the holder of that contract to let them know that they invest in that they are at risk, because you, being the creditor, I could wake up out of your stupor and make a claim against it. That's essentially, what I got from it. Your right to set off. Okay, you retain certain rights, and the right that you retain is set off, and they want it. You can't waive a right unless they give you full disclosure of it. And they don't want to give, that's why they call it the exposure draft. They don't want to expose it. They don't think it's necessary to expose the people out there to it. All right, but they wanted it because they trying to sell these financial instruments, and it's difficult if you retain an interest in that instrument. They got a word for it. I forgot the word. It comes off my tongue right now. But in response to the exposure draft, most asserted that the statement of cash flows would be equally meaningless. Banks generally have contended that the nature of their business and the resulting nature of their cash flows are significantly different from the cash flows of non-financial enterprises, and that those differences render information about a bank's cash flows virtually meaningless. Banks who responded to the exposure draft generally said that their cash flows are much more complex and interrelated than those of other enterprises, and that a bank's cash flows are much larger in relation to net income and net assets than are the cash flows of the non-financial enterprise. Here is the key right here. Here is the key right here. This is the sentence. All right here. It says, they commented that a bank creates money through its lending activities. That, they said, makes cash the product of a bank's earning activities, just as finished goods are the products of a manufacturer's earning activities. Accordingly, banks often asserted that a statement of cash flows from a bank is analogous to a combined statement of cash and inventory. Okay, I don't need that. My point in showing you this is, you see what these people are talking about right here, that money, the creation of money, is a product of the bank. Like a manufacturer has product, they manufacture money in the bank. Okay, so everybody, ain't nobody making this up. When you learn how to look in the right places, and that's why I'm giving you all these different laws and everything for you to see. So when you start researching this, really researching it, not having like some of these people coming into the chat room, ain't research shit, but just asking a question. See, there's a difference between a student and a skeptic. A student goes and investigates information, and then when he doesn't understand certain things, he comes back to the teacher for clarification. These motherfuckers ain't read nothing. They just come out, how can I buy a car? How can I get boo-boo out of jail? And it's like, don't nothing work like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not, nothing works like that. Let me finish this affidavit of, I want to finish this affidavit of Walker Todd. So right here, relevance, this Walker Todd, his next thing, he finna teach you about the distinctions of money, the different kinds of money, which is necessary. He said, from my study of historical and economic writings on the subject, I conclude that a common misconception about the nature of money, unfortunately, has been perpetuated in the U.S. monetary and banking systems, especially since the 1930s. In classical economic theory, once economic exchange has moved from the barter stage, there are two types of money of exchange and money of account. For nearly 300 years in both Europe and the United States, confusion about the distinctiveness of these two concepts has led to persistent attempts to treat money of account as the equivalent of money of exchange. Money of exchange is gold and silver, or certificates that are redeemable in gold or silver. Money of account is promissory notes, bonds, bills of exchange, all these negotiable instruments that you see floating around that we're dealing with right now. It's accounting that we're dealing with. Now, it's important for you to understand this, because when you are discharging a debt, what you are asking these people to do is to do an accounting. It ain't no fucking money in the system. There's no money. All we have are agreements. When you start dealing with negotiable instruments or contracts, negotiable instruments, where did I get that from? Where did I get that from? Negotiable instruments or contracts. Where did I get that from? Let's see where I got that from. Where did I get that from? Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. All right, this right here, this is American jurisprudence, bills and notes. All right, bills for bills of exchange and notes for promissory notes. Go to the source, you know. All right, so it's American jurisprudence. And it says right here, the very first sentence, look how we can learn something if we just open up a book and read. It's like magic. Bills and notes in the various forms are contracts and may be negotiable or non-negotiable. End of sentence. End of sentence. End of sentence. Bills and notes are contracts. Contracts require offer, acceptance, and consideration, and they require two parties capable of contracting for it to be valid, as well as the fact there has to be an agreement of the parties. So everything works off. That's why you have a mortgage, you have a promissory note and a mortgage. All right. You have to have a contract because we're using a negotiable instrument, and the terms of repayment of that negotiable instrument is what the dead hand is giving you. Really, in this system that we have, the promissory note is a deposit. You deposit in it at the closing table. The closing table is considered a financial institution. Do you want me to show you where I got that from? Do I need to show you? Yes, I'll show you. I'll take the time. I'll take the time to show you that. Let's look at that real quick. I think it's under Title 31. It's 15, what is it? 15. I think it was 15. What was it? 15 USC 9th definition of financial institution. Is this it? 18 financial institution defined. That's not it. Where is it right here? Use 12 USC 1304. Definitions. Is this it right here? That ain't it either. I don't know why I'm having trouble finding stuff. This thing usually pop right up on the screen. Okay, definition. I can't find it. Shit. I want to show. Oh, this is it right here. I think this is it right here. Yep, right here. Damn, just when I was about to give up on it. So right here, you see, this is it right here. So you see financial institution. This is 31 USC 5312. Write that down. I don't know why I didn't remember that. 31 USC 5312. My mind go blank sometime. All right, so financial institution means an insured bank, a commercial bank or trust company, a private banker, an agency or branch of a foreign bank in the United States, any credit union, a thrift institution, a broker or dealer registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission under the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, a broker or dealer in securities or commodities, an investment bank or an investment company, and a currency exchange or a business engaged in the exchange of currency, funds, or value that substitutes for currency or funds, an issuer, redeemer, or cashier of traveler's checks, money orders, or similar instruments, an operator of a credit card system, an insurance company, a dealer in precious metals, stones, or jewels, a pawnbroker. A pawnbroker is a financial institution. A loan or finance company, a travel agency, a licensed sender of money, or any other person who engages as a business in the transmission of currency, funds, or value that substitutes for currency, including any person who engages as a business in an informal money transfer system or any network of people who engage as a business in facilitating the transfer of money domestically or internationally outside of the conventional financial institution system. A telegraph company, a business engaged in vehicle sales, including automobile, airplane, and boat sales. What? You mean your dealership is a financial institution? Persons involved in real estate closing and settlements. Everybody you involved in a real estate closing, that is at the U.S. Postal Service. These are financial institutions. So when you are at the closing table signing that promissory note, you're making a deposit in a financial institution that has to follow GAAP. And in following GAAP, that means that there is an accounts receivable and an accounts payable, but you haven't claimed the accounts payable. That's why they can file a 1099-A, which is an abandonment. You abandoned those funds. You didn't claim them. That's what they're doing. All this shit is accounting. There's no money. You learn the accounting on it, you can play the game. But it's just accounting. Ain't no money. There's no gold and silver. When we say there's no money, what we're saying is constitutionally mandated gold and silver. They took all the gold and silver away. That was the most nefarious thing that they did, is take away our ability to conduct commerce privately without the intervention or the government looking over our backs, all in our fucking business. That's a republic. Okay, let me get back to this this affidavit. So right here, he talks about money of exchange and money of account. For nearly 300 years in both Europe and the United States, confusion about the distinctiveness of these two concepts has led to persistent attempts to treat money of account as the equivalent of money of exchange. In reality, especially in a fractional reserve banking system, a comparatively small amount of money of exchange, namely gold, silver, and official currency notes, may support a vastly larger quantity of business transactions denominated in money of account. So he's letting you know right there that when you have gold and silver, you can't expand the money supply, but the gold and silver can support the money supply that they are expanding because they loan out 10 times the amount. So with the exception of customary stores of value like gold and silver, the monetary base of the economy largely consists of credit instruments. Against this background, I conclude that the note, despite some language about lawful money explained below, clearly contemplates both disbursement of funds and eventual repayment or settlement in money of account. That is, money of exchange will be welcome, but is not required to repay or settle the note. Equality under the law is mandatory. If they gave you a debt instrument, you should be able to give them a debt instrument to satisfy the obligation. That's why you have a UCC 3-306. Was it UCC 3-306B? Tender a payment. And if they don't accept it, it's discharged up to the amount of the tender. The reason for that is UCC 3-603B. I'm sorry, UCC 3-603B. The reason for that is if they won't accept the promissory note or negotiable instrument, there's nothing else to give them. There's nothing else to give them. Only thing you can give these people is a negotiable instrument. What the fuck are y'all talking about? But see, you got to know where you can do it and who's required to accept yours. The Federal Reserve System is operating in a private system, okay? You have to have permission to utter instruments within their jurisdiction. You just can't go willy-nilly or capriciously going out and just engaging in ways and business the way you want to. That is a house over there. That is the Federal Reserve's house. They have member branches and member banks. Everybody's a member of it. That's why it operates under a territorial jurisdiction. It's not in the Republic. It's not in the Republic. So when we understand that, now we can understand how to move. Now when we understand what honor is, that these people have rules, you have to honor their rules. So you have to go in, you have to, with an offer. Look, I'm giving you a bond. I'm going to be discharging debt. I done woke up out the matrix. I'm the one you had to take out the pod and flush down the drain. That's one of me. I'm rolling with Morpheus, Neo, and Trinity now, okay? But I'm awake, and because I'm awake, but look at it, I understand what's going on. Y'all bankrupt. Y'all in some serious motherfucking problems. As a matter of fact, y'all house is on fire like a motherfucker. It's just lit up. It's on fire, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assist you through your time of need. I'm going to give you a bond, okay? You can put it on your books. You can put it as an asset on your books, all right? All I ask in return is that the tenor of the bond states as an agreement that you will do certain duties to perform for the acceptance of this bond. I'm going to give you 30 days to get back to me. If there's anything wrong with anything I'm saying, okay? I sent this registered mail. If you want to talk to me, use the registered mail number as a reference point, okay? And let me know what I can do to make this right or whether or not what I'm doing is unlawful. This is what people have been doing forever. This is not me making up. I didn't make up none of this, by the way. I'm just here to explain it. I've studied it and I understand it. These people haven't studied any of this stuff. They haven't studied negotiable instruments. They ain't studied contracts. They've not studied public and private. They just want to know how they can discharge some shit. But anyway, let me finish what Walker Todd is saying. He said the factual basis of this conclusion is the reference in the disbursement request and authorization of repayment of $95,905.16 to Michigan National Bank from the proceeds of the note. That was an exchange of credit of Bank One plaintiff for credit apparently and previously extended to defendants by Michigan National Bank. Also, there is no reason to believe the plaintiff would refuse a substitution of credit, notice substitution of credit, of another bank or banker. That's why I just got through reading to you what is the definition of a financial institution. Right here, private banker. Private banker. Private banker is one definition. So they can accept the note of another bank or banker. as complete repayment of the defendant's repayment obligation under the note. This is a case about exchanges of money of account credit, not about exchanges of money of exchange, lawful money, or even legal tenor. Ironically, this is what they try to put to throw you off in these mortgages, and he's going to address that. Ironically, the note explicitly refers to repayment in lawful money of the United States of America. See promise to pay clause. Traditionally and legally, Congress defines the phrase lawful money for the United States. That's why I just told you earlier it's operating in a private jurisdiction. We operating under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. That's under the legislative branch of government. Congress has plenary power under that branch of government. You're not going to do just what the fuck you want to do. Get that out of your head. You're going to be looked at as a terrorist, and rightfully so, because you're ignorant. So lawful money was the form of money of exchange that the federal government or any state could be required by statute to receive in payment of taxes or other debts. Traditionally, as defined by Congress, lawful money only included gold, silver, and currency notes redeemable for gold and silver on demand. Now you see that right there. Traditionally, as defined by Congress, lawful money only included gold, silver, and currency notes redeemable for gold and silver on demand. What is a redeemable currency note for gold and silver? Well, let's look at that. This is what he's talking about. A gold this right here. See right here? $20. All right? All right? This right here, it says, what does it say at the top? This certifies that they have been put on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America, $20 and gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. So this is a gold certificate. I can take this to the Treasury Department and they'll have to weigh up $20 worth of gold and give it back to me. All right, this is how I could redeem my gold. But they done changed this now. We don't have this. They gave us this bullshit right here. Was it federal? They gave us this right here. This is bullshit. It says Federal Reserve. Look, they look like our money. They made it look a lot like, the original money. They didn't want to get nobody up in arms, so they made it look exactly the same, just change the words. It's a Federal Reserve note. This ain't redeemable for shit. This is a worthless fucking piece of paper. The only thing that is only reason it has value is because people are willing to accept it. It's a negotiable instrument. Where does that come from? That comes from modern money mechanics. I got to give y'all a footnote. Modern money mechanics PDF. Modern money mechanics. See if I can pull it up real quick. There's it right here. This is from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. It always seemed like something coming out of Chicago, boy, I tell you. There's a lot of information come out of Chicago for all kind of shit. All right, so right here, he says what? What makes money valuable? In the United States, neither paper currency nor deposits have values as commodities. Intrinsically, a dollar bill is just a piece of paper. Deposits merely book entries. Coins do have some intrinsic value as metal, but generally far less than their face value. What then makes these instruments, checks, paper money, and coins acceptable at face value and payment of all debts and other monetary uses? Mainly, it is the confidence people have that they will be able to exchange such money for other financial assets and for real goods and services whenever they choose to do so. You see what these fucking people who print the goddamn money, all right, they print the shit, they give it to you, and you see what they saying about their own goddamn money? This is Modern Money Mechanics, a workbook on bank reserves and deposits from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. I had to do all of this. I hope y'all are writing this down like you new people. You should be writing down all these different books I'm talking about. You need to know what FASB 95 is. If you want to understand the accounting that's going on, page 21, under financial institutions, you need to know modern money mechanics. You need to have an understanding of GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. All right. You need to read the affidavit of Walker Todd. You want to have that on hand because then you're in a court case and somebody tries to use the vapor money theory against you, you'll have all this at your disposal to counter that argument if you need to do so. But you got to arm yourself with some sort of knowledge or the people going to make you look like a goddamn fool. So let me go back over here real quick. In light of these facts, I conclude that the plaintiff and the defendants exchanged reciprocal credits involving money of account and not money of exchange. No lawful money was or probably ever would be dispersed by either side in the covered transactions. This conclusion also is consistent with the bookkeeping entries that underlie the loan account in dispute in the present case. There was a audio floating around, I think I might still have it, of this vice president of this bank saying when they make loans, they don't see no money come out of no account nowhere. He said ain't no money comes out of an account when they make a loan. We don't see no account where there is a subtraction of money that comes out of an account. And if you go in there and ask them, when you buying a car, just ask the lady, okay, where is this? You buying a house or a car and you getting a loan from these people, just ask them, where's the money coming from that y'all loaning to me? Where's it coming from? Or from other customer accounts. Now, that's against the law. You telling me that I'm bringing my money up here to this bank and you taking it out the back door, loaning it to another motherfucker who might not pay it back? That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. So you just tell them that's against the law. All right? Where is the money coming from? They can't tell you because they don't know. The loan officer don't even fucking know. The only people that know what's going on is the bank president and the accountant who motherfucking audits the bank. If you don't have one of those people as a witness, don't go in here throwing this shit all around. Use their publications. But don't just come in there and just start saying some shit, without any, you don't have no way to substantiate it. You don't have an expert witness in your corner. You're going to be made to look crazy. Anyway, what time is it? I'm going to keep this short tonight. I want y'all to read these documents and study this stuff, man. Let me tell you, it is a very interesting subject. You got to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. You got to be able to separate the real from the unreal, because there's a lot of mythology that is still circulating in these spaces, and a lot of you buy into it. And it's dangerous to do that because some of these mythologies have been put into place by agents of the federal government. They put false information and rabbit trails out all the time. So once you understand that that's happening, once you understand that you can find a document on the internet, and if you don't read it and you just fill in the blanks without reading it, and later on you find out that the document, they changed all the words in there so it's to their advantage and not yours. They went in and put it back on the internet because they know you're not going to read it. You just filled in the blanks, all the little places, and read where it says put your name here, you just put it there. See, these are things that experience. Once you have experience in doing all of this, you look at the internet and say, yeah, it's a lot of documents on the internet, but you don't know which ones are good and which ones ain't. I ain't putting no bad ones on my website. Anyway. I appreciate the I wasn't looking at the screen, so I didn't give a shout out to everybody who gave, who donated. Let me see, can I catch a couple of people? Oh, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I was zoned out, so I didn't get a chance to, thank everybody who donated tonight. I appreciate the donations thoroughly. Look like we're starting to get a lot of people starting to, check in. Let's Let's see if we can get it up to 1,000 people. Get up to 1,000 people, I'm going to really start going in on some stuff. He said, I need your actual help, Yusef. Please, my good sir, I read but not comprehend much of this. I need help in equity, brother. You need help in equity. Okay, well, I mean, you got to understand. Hey, Yusef, just joined the university. Can you explain the 92 EIN? The EIN numbers, all the numbers represent is what campus issued the number. That's all it is, what campus. That's all those numbers represent. You can pull up something called how federal EIN numbers are signed. Like right here, you go to rs.gov, our EIN numbers are assigned, and then they give you a little chart right here. And you said 92. 92 is right here. That's 92. That's under Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the campus that issues 98 numbers. So a 98 number is just a general term. It's just a general term that everybody uses. It's a slang, like birth certificate authentication. It's a slang. It could be any one of those numbers listed right there. That first two digits just indicate, that let everybody know it's a private number. That's all it is. It's a foreign number is actually how they would say it, foreign to the jurisdiction of the United States, which is the same as private because private people are foreign to the United States as well. It says Truth in Lending Acts, bills of exchange, tennis courts are played on grass. No, like Norman F. Dacey, I don't know, Cash App is the note. Yeah, it's in the notes. I'm glad my stupid question led to that rant. Truth is start gardening in your own backyard. Yeah, you should. Good day, y'all. I thank you kindly for the knowledge and the invite you have extended to those of us interested in freeing ourselves from the system. You're welcome. Why not use consumer laws instead of the SBC process? It depends on what it is. I use consumer laws. I use the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act a lot in a lot of administrative processes. 15 USC 1692G, I use that a lot. I use it mostly on third-party debt collectors. I ain't going to do no administrative process on somebody I don't owe no obligation to. So there are public remedies, there are private remedies. You can use public. Sometimes a public remedy is more warranted than a private remedy, and that's one instance right there. That's one instance. You don't have to go into all of that because they don't have standing to sue on a debt. They're not a real party in interest. They're not a creditor. They haven't put in an affidavit attesting to that fact. I received a class action lawsuit presentment for a fully faulty vehicle I purchased. Would I accept it for value and return it as one would with dealing with a presentment? I mean, what, you received you received a class action lawsuit? I mean, no, man, they're going to default judge you. If that's against you, that's civil. You don't show up, they're going to get a judgment against you. The only way I wouldn't show up is if I didn't have nothing in my name. If I have anything in my name, that's the only way I wouldn't show up. My brain is going so crazy, it's screwing up the world. They had me locked up, but I escaped. All right. So I realized I went into dishonor by filing counterclaim after reading creditors and their bonds. I need that consultation to make sure my next steps are right. Okay, you can do that. That might warrant a consultation. My dude, I thank you. The Real Men Talk. I appreciate that. Hey, fam, we have to read this information. Yusef is dropping game. However, it's going to require some effort on your part. Great class, brother. We enjoyed the seminar. When is the next seminar in Dallas or Houston? The next seminar is going to be in Philadelphia. It's going to be in Philadelphia. We already trying to locate a hotel, get a spot for it, but it's going to be in Philadelphia. I already did Houston, but we're going to Philadelphia next. We'll be in Philadelphia. Is it good or a bad thing when the prosecutor offers you a plea deal in a weapon second-degree criminal case? I don't know what's the deal. It depends on what the deal is. Nigga offering you 50 years, that's not a deal. I don't know. I mean, if you accept, some of you should accept a plea deal because if you go in there trying to use this and you ain't mastered it, you're just going to fuck yourself up even more. So if you're new to this, if you go into court next week and you just learn this information, I'm not finna tell somebody to start using this information unless they saying, well, we give you 50 years, 100 years or something. Then I say, yeah, brother, go for it. I don't care if the shit is tomorrow. Go for it. Because you ain't got nothing to lose. You're in a no-win situation. You ain't got nothing to lose. So if you ain't got nothing to lose, use it. But if you got something to lose, don't. Please don't keep printing the same question. I just answered it. I will block your ass. Do not test my fucking patience, okay? Don't do that shit. I will think that you are a troll. What is it? Where we at? All right, so, all right. Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yusef, would you fight a possession of controlled substances if you're in a work truck that's rented? I mean, it depends. Don't matter if the truck was rented. I mean, you know, if you got caught, if you got a possession, you always should fight a possession of controlled substance. There's a lot of stuff in the law library can be used to fight that. It really is. But yes, I would fight that. Because drugs, here's the thing, drugs are called a victimless crime. You haven't injured anyone. You know, what that is them exercising their power as under the doctrine of parens patria and using that social security number to make sure you stay healthy. And, you know, because you're a taxpayer, you're an asset to them. You're a taxpayer, and they don't want you to kill yourself. It says, hold on to your brain when you learn this. Is mind blown. A generally accepted common rule governing payment of monetary obligation is that, absent an agreement providing otherwise, an obligee can insist upon payment in legal tender, or as it is sometimes. Yeah, but what is legal tender? Legal tender is a fiction. That's why you just gave you the affidavit of Walker Todd, an expert witness, explaining why they put that bullshit in the contract. What is legal tender? Is anything that Congress defines. Anything. But it's traditionally, it's been gold or silver. It says, he said, for a felon in possession, if you never had it, then they have constructive possession, which means you was near it or something like that, or you had access to it. You got to be careful when you are a felon. You got to be careful, y'all. First of all, you know, I hate to just say it, but I know brothers out there, you're going to be trying to carry a gun anyway. You need to invest in a gun safe. They got all kinds. You should always have a weapon in a safe and have plausible deniability that you have constructive access to it. That's just what I would advise, you know, if you're going to go out, because so many of y'all take risks. I get so many people call me with that fucking charge right there that, come on, man, you know you're not supposed to have no gun on you. You know, you're going to ride around with the bitch in the car. You already emitting a vibration of fear because you know you ain't supposed to be having that shit in the car. But you just perfectly comfortable being a convicted felon and riding with a motherfucking gun in the car. That shit would make me nervous in a motherfucker. That shit would make me nervous in a motherfucker. You know, I'm like, man, look here. That's why I only go to my 5-star restaurants, and I don't go nowhere where I'm going to need a gun. I don't go anywhere where I'm going to need a gun. I don't go nowhere that I'm going to need a gun. Nowhere. I'm with the wealthy. I'm in those circles. I'm valet parking. You know, that's my life. I ain't trying to do nothing or be in any type of situation where I need to defend myself in a life or death situation that's going to require me to have a gun. If we were moving, it was in the car, not my car, but it was in, okay, well, it's your responsibility to check a car. And listen, man, I remember one time, you know, one of my Airbnbs, somebody left a gun in the Airbnb. And I had to call them people. I said, look, you know, I said, you need to come and get this gun right now. Before I call the police or whatever, you need to come and get it. You know, people will leave things behind, but it's up to me to go ahead and check to see, okay, that nobody left anything behind, no incriminating evidence. You got to be on alert when you are a convicted felon. You're a convicted felon. you need to be on alert. You know, constantly, you got to be constantly vigilant that you need to be concerned about your interests. The best thing that you can do that I would advise you to do is to live your life in such a way where you don't piss nobody off or nothing. If you start living your life in a righteous type of way, then no incidents will start arriving in your life that will cause you some sort of jeopardy. You know, if you're constantly going to court all the time, you got some type of issue, there's something wrong with your vibration. You need to address your thoughts. You need to start focusing on what you want in life. Man, I was watching some stuff on the internet. Man, these women, Carissa, and what is this show they got? These two people, man, they crazy as hell, man. You know, it's like they fighting, all these women on the show fighting and shit. They just, this new generation coming up, these women is off the chain. Hey, off the chain, man. It's like you can see it descending into bestiality. You know, people becoming beasts and animals. And you want to be around that? Yeah, you need a gun if you're going to be around that environment. You should be striving to not be in a peaceful environment and to only be in places that are going to create positive vibrations for you. You know, especially if you're a convicted felon. Especially if you're a convicted felon. You need to get, that life is over for you. That acting hard and being in hard ass places and being in a strip club and fucking with motherfucking strippers and staying out late and smoking weed and, you know, and whatever it is that you're doing and shit, wasting motherfucking time, wasting your life away, that shit is over. You better have your clearly defined goal and be every day on pursuit of that motherfucker. That will protect you. If you're not doing that, all this extracurricular shit that you're doing, chances are you're going to end up in a situation where a lot more of your time is going to be taken away from you. And I understand you saying it's not your car, but still the responsibility is on you. When you talk to me like this, okay, that's why they have acceptance of responsibility, is you the ones responsible for your life, all right? And I understand, but yes, if it is something that is looking like, hey, they're trying to knock your head off, yeah, you need to switch gears and learn this and do this right here. I would highly advise it. I would highly advise it, yes. It says, you should never have to use your SSN for an EIN number. I'm from the U.S., but working in Canada. You can use my address, cancel the 98 number you received. Okay, there you go. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. See, that's why you have the chat room. That's the type of statement that should be made in the Facebook group. That's the type of information that should be shared in the Facebook group. Hi, twin. I'm representing my straw man in a civil lawsuit. Hope this is not a stupid question. How come I'm not getting respect? I'm a Moroccan national Moor. I mean, man, what did that got to do with anything? You're not getting respect because you don't know what you're doing. Because that don't have shit to do with shit. And what do you mean you're not getting respect? How are you not being respected? Why? Because you're trying to talk about status law in a civil proceeding? I mean, how does that have to do with anything? I don't understand how that has to do with anything that you are more and you're entitled to some kind of respect. Or what is this this conceptualization in your mind that you're being disrespected? Why are you saying because they won't recognize you as a Moor in court? Yusef, for you still working on putting up the courses? Yes, I am. Got my 9A bill today. They have, okay. All right, cool. I worked for the first black banker in Cleveland, Ohio. They were and are attorneys. Senior attorney is tax attorney. I drove in a presidential motorcade with them, Bill and Hillary Clinton. Oh, that's what's up. He was a tax attorney. I bet you know a lot if he's a tax attorney. All right, y'all. I got to get off now because y'all questions starting to get crazy. So I guess y'all tired. But anyway, I'm tired. I hope that I dropped a couple of jewels tonight to help you in your quest for freeing yourself from the matrix. It is a commercial. It's a matrix of commerce in which there isn't any money. All the money is monopoly money. It's monopoly money. It's monopoly money. You know, it's monopoly money. Right here. See this right here? Federal Reserve notes, you can put an overlay of a Federal Reserve note over monopoly money, and the colors is the damn same. You know, these people put shit in your face, man. These people funny in a motherfucker. They think people is dumb for real. These motherfuckers think people is dumb. It says sort of. Our conclusion is sort of. Look at this shit, man. These people is trying to tell you. They trying to tell you something, you know. It's like, you know, you playing a game. How y'all think I came up with the analogy about them? Because when I saw that, everything started to click. I said, you know what? This is all a damn game. We playing a fucking game. They didn't turn. I can imagine somebody being that so fucking rich and bored, where they say, let's just make this shit into a damn game, you know. Anyway. We come into Pennsylvania, join SBC University. Link is in the description. All right, everything is in the description. Just check the description of any of my videos if you're looking for information. I usually put information in the description of my videos. And I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. I'll be back on tomorrow night. And we can do it all again. Hopefully I'll have the software ready, and then we can get into this birth certificate bond and talk about that for a little bit. But you know, go back and look at this video. Go and make sure you read all the sources that I cited, and make sure you start looking at and investigate them. It's a wealth of information that can really help you in any situation you may find yourself in. Anyway, my name is Yusef. Peace to the gods. I will see y'all on the next live stream. Peace. I'm out.